For decades, local nonprofits have operated on razor-thin margins, treating federal grants as their financial bedrock. During government shutdowns, they typically tighten their belts and wait for the inevitable resumption of cash flow. This chart tracks federal funding levels for community-serving organizations over the last half-century. These smaller dips represent past budget disputes. But starting in January 2025, the federal government permanently canceled or frozen $425 billion in funds. This represents the most significant withdrawal of federal support for community organizations in modern American history, creating a permanent structural gap in the safety net. The safety net that nonprofits relied on to survive cyclical disputes has effectively dissolved, leaving local communities exposed to a total collapse of essential services. To see the impact of this withdrawal on the ground, we have to look at Erie County, Pennsylvania. By early 2025, 1/3 of all nonprofits in the U.S. reported severe government funding disruptions. In Erie, this translated to a localized crisis, with organizations planning staff layoffs at double the normal rate. The disruption reached the service level almost immediately. Nearly a quarter of these organizations have already been forced to scale back their programs and decrease the total number of people they serve. Erie's leadership is now facing a reality where the federal money simply isn't coming back, forcing a total reconsideration of how the city's social services function. The withdrawal was codified in February 2025 by Executive Order 14222. This gave the newly formed Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, sweeping authority to unilaterally terminate or modify federal grants. A few months later, DOGE engineers altered the underlying permissions on the grant.gov portal. They created an artificial choke point that instantly halted funding opportunities for everything from Alzheimer's care to Native American health. This bottleneck allowed the administration to terminate over 2,400 existing contracts for convenience in 2025 alone, effectively starving programs of their approved cash flow. This was an engineered weaponization of bureaucracy, specifically designed to bypass traditional oversight and permanently dismantle these programs. The defunding pattern focuses on specific populations by labeling their support programs as woke, cultural Marxism, or aid for, quote, criminal aliens. In Erie, this ideological framing translates to immediate local losses. Refugee-serving agencies like USCRI Erie are losing resettlement funding, stripping food and medical assistance from lawfully present families. Residents with disabilities are seeing support systems frozen. Medicare work requirements and frozen independent living grants are actively threatening local providers like Voices for Independence. The cuts reach into the basic care of the community. Child care block grants have been reduced by $250 million, while Older Americans Act programs like Meals on Wheels face severe budget reductions. While Pennsylvania's governor and Erie's mayor have expressed support, state and municipal budgets lack the capacity to absorb a financial loss of this magnitude. The administration's explicit rhetorical framing positions these vulnerable residents in Erie not as accidental victims of a budget cut, but as the intended targets of a restructured federal system. In response to the vacuum, the Erie Community Foundation has stepped in to act as a central coordinating entity for the county's nonprofit sector. Their immediate triage measure involved deploying a $350,000 rapid response fund to deliver emergency cash grants to organizations facing imminent insolvency. Beyond emergency funding, the foundation convened a 10-member nonprofit leadership committee to draft a phased plan for stabilization and capacity building. By establishing this centralized review and leadership structure, the foundation is building a local command system to replace the functions previously handled by the federal government. The Resilience Plan aims to insulate Erie's organizations from Washington's volatility by testing a new model of cooperative economics. This strategy moves away from the traditional top-down federal pipeline. It focuses on building a closed-loop system of economic self-sufficiency funded entirely from within the local ecosystem. Erie is now launching a public engagement campaign to shift the county's cultural mindset toward this model of community self-reliance. With the federal safety net permanently dismantled, Erie is attempting to prove that the only way to protect a community's most vulnerable residents is to build a completely self-reliant local ecosystem.